Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I am Jeffrey Cooperstein. Harrison Graham's going to be out for the next week or so it'll just be little old me giving you guys your Mavs content for the next week. On today's show, we're just going to do a little Mavericks roster breakdown, take a look at how the roster looks as it stands right now with the additions of Klay Thompson, Naji Marshall, and Quentin Grimes, and we'll see where the Mavs could possibly improve to try to get back to the NBA Finals, because that is the goal for this team. We'll just start with an overall roster breakdown at first. First, taking a look at the guards. You obviously have your three best players in prized possessions, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson. And then you have Dante Exum and Jaden Hardy. Exum coming back off a fantastic bounce-back year after being out of the NBA for a couple of seasons. He was really good for the Mavs in the regular season last year, and his contract became guaranteed at just around $3 million. And it's kind of a make-or-break season here for Jaden Hardy in year 3. After the Mavs kind of gave him a little time in the rotation last year. Wasn't really in the playoff rotation until late. He started playing well in the Western Conference Finals, got some time in the finals as well, and we know he can score the basketball at a pretty high level, but I believe this is a make-or-break year for Hardy and on the Mavs. Moving to the wings, you have P.J. Washington and Naji Marshall. Those are going to be your two main wings, the guys who are going to be tasked with defending the opposing team's best player. I'm very curious to see how they use Naji Marshall, and we'll get into what the starting five and rotation is going to look like here in just a few moments, but I think Marshall is going to be your sixth man. He'll be the first guy off the bench. He's going to be the one that's guarding those elite wings, and I think Washington will be tasked with that as well, but they're really going to rely heavily on Marshall, as they did Derrick Jones last season, to guard those guys at a high level. You have the newly acquired Quentin Grimes, who you got in the Tim Hardaway trade as well. He can guard the 2s and 3s. And then you have Olivier-Maxence Prosper and A.J. Lawson. Those guys are kind of the outside looking in, although I still have really high hopes for Olivier-Max in his development, but I think this year will be another year where he's trying to crack the rotation, kind of like Jaden Hardy did this past season. And then your bigs, you have Dereck Lively, Daniel Gafford, Maxi Kleber, and Dwight Powell. Your top two are obviously, it's one of the best big rotations in the NBA. I think Lively is going to end up being your starter this year. Gafford will be coming off the bench, but it'll be similar where Lively probably plays 28 minutes. Gafford probably plays 20 or so minutes. Both of these guys are going to play a lot and will hopefully be very productive with this team. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Maxi Kleber. Is he in the rotation as a true backup 4 alongside Naji Marshall coming off the bench, or is he kind of going to be relegated to maybe a third team spot duty kind of guy who plays 10 to 15 minutes a night? And then Dwight Powell, he's just Dwight Powell. He's just there. 2 more years left on that contract. Brother's cooked, man. That's pretty much all there is to say about him. As you just taking a look here at the roster as a whole, shout out to Bobby Marks for making this super all-handy graphic here. The projected salary for the Mavs, $175 million. Now, they still have that $4.4 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception that we mentioned on previous videos. Now, $9 million of that went to Naji Marshall, so they have the $4.5 million remaining that they could use on a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, like Dennis Smith Jr., like Patrick Beverley, who we talked about on previous shows, and I think they're going to end up using that. I'm not sure what kind of player they end up going there as well. They still have a second-round pick available and the veteran minimum to use as well. And I notice you're not seeing Melvin Ajinça on this little graphic here. Ajinça, by all accounts, is not going to play for the Mavericks next year. It sounds like he is going to be a draft and stash, so he's going to spend at least another season over in Europe. And then if he has another good year, they might bring him over to play with the Mavs for the 25-26 season. But as it stands right now, Ajinça will not be on this Mavericks roster. Well, we just broke down that roster, and go ahead and grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F down in the comment section. I think this is one of the best rosters in the NBA, man. If I had to guess, I would just put it at a... I'm going to go A-. I think this roster is an A-. It's truly a top 5 roster in the NBA. This will be the pinned comment on today's show, so let us know what you think down below when you get hit with a YouTube ad break. Taking a looking at the Mavs starting lineup here, it's Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, P.J. Washington, and Dereck Lively. This is what I believe the starting 5 is going to look like, at least to start the year, and I imagine it will be for the vast majority of the year as well. I think this is the best starting 5 in the NBA. I mean, the depth, you have the scoring, you have the best scorer in the NBA in Luka. You have maybe the best Robin in the NBA in Kyrie Irving. Oh, and by the way, you have Klay Thompson, who is the second greatest shooter in the history of the NBA. Next to his former teammate in Klay Thompson. You have P.J. Washington, who was a do-it-all guy for the Mavericks last year. had some offensive burst, but it was really his defense that made him a mainstay in this Mavericks starting lineup. And then Dereck Lively, who was one of the best rookie centers last year, whose ceiling is sky high and could end up being a multi-time all-star in this league. If we're going to take a look at some other elite starting fives here, but I really do believe that this is the best starting five in the league. You go to the Celtics starting lineup here with, obviously they won the NBA title last year. They were the best team from start to finish with White, Holiday, Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis. Now, Porzingis is going to miss the first part of the year with that surgery that he ended up having. So I think he'll probably be back around Christmas time, but you sub Porzingis for Al Horford. That team looks really good. And then that bench is still really good as well with Hauser, Pritchard, Tillman, Horford / whoever, Luke Cornett you want to put out there. They're a good starting lineup. You take a look at the Thunder as well. The addition of Isaiah Hartenstein I really like this addition for the Thunder. It moves Chet Holmgren to the 4, which I think is probably a more natural position for him. And they're going to try to replicate sort of what the Minnesota Timberwolves did with Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's an awesome player. Alex Caruso, their acquisition as well, who they got for Josh Giddey from the Bulls. And then Jalen Williams, one of the best young wings in this league. I don't have Lou Dort on here right now. I project Caruso to go in the starting lineup. Lou Dort could be a sneaky trade candidate. Maybe not for the Mavs, but for some other team down the road. And then, of course, you can't count out the Denver Nuggets. They lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to the Orlando Magic, but this is still an awesome starting five with Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. I mean, this is probably the second best if I had to rank them right now, starting fives in the NBA, but the Mavericks stack up with these teams, man. They really do, especially if Klay Thompson is going to shoot the lights out of it like I think he's going to this year. I really believe they have the best starting five in the NBA, but what do you guys think? Do the Mavs have the best starting five in the NBA? Type Y for yes or type N for no down in the comment section. I think it's a yes, man. If not, let me know who you think does have the best starting five down there in the comments below. And let's take a look at the second unit. These are the guys who are going to be coming off the bench for the Mavs. You have Dante Exum and Jaden Hardy, who we talked about earlier. Quentin Grimes, who is sort of your replacement for Derrick Jones to a degree. I guess you could say that's Naji Marshall as well, but Grimes is going to be a 3-and-D guy. He's going to be able to guard those 2s and 3s, shoot it at a high level. Hopefully, he was really good 2 years ago for the New York Knicks when they made the second round of the postseason. He had battled injuries last year and kind of had an off year. Naji Marshall, he's more of your Derrick Jones replacement. He is kind of the guy you got to directly replace him. And then Daniel Gafford, he's going to play a huge role at the center position. But when you look at this second unit, what do you guys think the Mavs are missing? I really think they still need a true backup point guard, and that's why I advocate for the signing of either Dennis Smith Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, or Patrick Beverley to come on this team, because I think they need a true number one who can bring the ball up the court, initiate the offense, and just get it in the right hands. And the Mavs don't really have that guy. I think Dante Exum does a little bit of that, but I would like a true point guard on this roster. And we did a whole video basically on this earlier, so go check it out on the channel, and be sure to hit that subscribe button while you do so. The road to 30,000 subscribers is ongoing. We are about 785 subs away from that goal, so be sure to help us out. Send it to all your friends and people that you know, and get it to some real Mavs fans out there. Here's what your end of the bench looks like. You have A.J. Lawson, who started last year on a two-way for the Mavericks, ended up signing a guaranteed deal for the rest of the year. His deal is non-guaranteed as well. So if the Mavs do need to somehow create an open roster spot, it would be A.J. Lawson that you cut. Olivier-Maxence Prosper coming into year two. He was your first-round pick in the 2023 NBA draft. I have extremely high hopes for Olivier-Max. I really think he's going to be a good player in this league, but I don't think he's quite going to crack the rotation in opening night. And then Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell. I think Maxi will have a chance to be in the rotation next year. He still provides some defense. Three-point shooting at times. Now, after the injury in the postseason, he really wasn't the same player. And then I have nothing to say about Dwight Powell again. He's just Dwight Powell. But this is not bad for your 11 through 14 guys. You have some pretty good depth. If you have to stretch out the rotation, add Kleber into it, add Lawson into it, you're all of a sudden looking at 13, 14 deep. This team is really, it's 11 and 12 deep right now, and I think that if you add another guy in free agency, maybe two, this would be one of the best top to bottom rosters in the NBA. What do you guys think the Mavs' biggest need is? Is it a backup wing? Is it a point guard? I clearly think it's point guard, but let me know down below what you guys think the Mavs' biggest need is. And as always, I'm talking Mavs on Twitter all the time, so be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at Jeff_Coop27. And that'll be it for today's show. We'll have you guys up to date with all of the latest Mavericks news and rumors all throughout 2024 NBA free agency. And of course, if the Mavs make a move, we'll have it covered.